Today I'm going to talk about a very important issue, and an issue that is on everyone's mind, I think, at this time. What do you think about Black Lives Matter? What does God think of it? What does Christ think of it? What do Christians think about it? Should I support it? Should I wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt? Now, on the surface, this appears to be an easy answer. But what makes it difficult is the concept or the phrase Black Lives Matter exists in three distinct, and maybe I wouldn't use the word distinct, but it exists in three categories. First, it exists as a slogan, a hashtag. And when it exists as a slogan or a hashtag, and I think most people would hold to this understanding, it refers to abuse of African Americans at the present time and in the hundreds of years history prior to the present, that African Americans should be treated equally under the law as everyone else. As a believer, do I hold to that? Absolutely. Because I understand African American history and I understand the abuse of the African Americans in America. I understand Jim Crow and I understand what still occurs today. So does Jesus support Black Lives Matter as a slogan? Of course. For in Leviticus 19, the law of Moses says, love thy neighbor as yourself. And if you missed it, he will later write in the later verses of Leviticus 19, and you are to love the stranger or the immigrant or the alien as yourself, to make it very personally clear. Should believers support Black Lives Matter from a historical point? To me, you better believe it. You have to. If you follow Jesus, you better understand that, because God in his character loves justice, hates abuse. Okay? And then Jesus dies for everybody. So the gospel is very clear on this. The second category is a little trickier. For in the second category, Black Lives Matter exists also as a consortium of movements, organizations that gather together to promote nonviolent protest that sometimes carries over into violence recently, but technically they are nonviolent protest. But it has a more political, legislative agenda. What do I mean by that? Legislative agendas would be decarceration. What's that? Instead of incarceration of African Americans, they want a decarceration. Too many African Americans in prison. With that comes the recent other slogan, defund the police. And third, reparations for descendants of African American slaves. Now, that's basically a loose understanding of the political category of Black Lives Matter. Now, as a believer, do I support this? Well, the first one was easy. The second was a little harder. And what makes it hard is because I think in the political realm, because I believe in Jesus Christ, and the true transformation comes from the heart. And that's why we need Jesus Christ as our Savior and the Spirit to make us now treat people with equality and without abuse. I tend to hold that any sort of legislation in America is not going to solve all the real issues of hatred and bigotry in this world. And it will arise in other forms. So do I hold to the second category? I probably hold to one. I'm not going to tell you which one. Well, I get hate mail. I don't want hate mail. But do I hold to all three? I don't hold to all three. So when you say, do I support Black Lives Matter? I will ask you, well, which category do you mean? The first one, historical abuse? Of course. Second one, legislative. let me think about this, because they have huge ramifications if you defund the police and you give reparations, $14 trillion, someone has said, and what it will do for America and the present generation. The third category of Black Lives Matter is the official organization. There's actually blacklivesmatter.com, and it has a sort of a about us, a we believe statement, and it believes in the fairness of African Americans, but it has a sort of feminist sort of overtone to it. They want to dismantle cisgender privilege and sort of tear down a Western nuclear family of a the hetero norm. So they talk a lot about transgender and queer and making that the norm in society. Now, do I hold to that third form? Well, I gotta say, I'm gonna get some hate mail. No, because I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and I believe that that is what God would intend for society in this world. So do I support Black Lives Matter? One answer is, of course I do. But for the second category, let me think. Maybe. For the third category, I have to say, no. Why? Because as a believer in Jesus Christ, I follow no movement blindly. My allegiance is to my Lord and to my Savior.